please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you are notified when new videos drop. So if you watched Doctor Who recently, it's not very good. It's not very good at all. I watch Doctor Who a lot, right? I watch it all the time. I'm talking about the current Doctor Who, the Jodie Whittaker, Chris Chibnall Doctor Who. It's not very good. I think it's fair to say it's not very good. I would classify it as very, very bad. Now, how did the state of being happen? How did these state affairs come into being? Well, interesting story that. We have people who really, really believed a lot of nonsense, right? A lot of nonsense. And then their nonsense got disproved. They thought that Donald Trump was the worstest thing ever. Oh, a racist. Oh, a sexist. Oh, the Russians colluded with him. Oh, no. Oh, it's Ukraine. And travel ban. Muslims, hates everyone. Hates Mexicans. Oh. Now, all that's nonsense, actually. All that is completely insane. And it was all, really thrown up, I think, by the media and social media because we had an incredible world-beating economy and world peace under Donald Trump. Prior to that, we had Barack Obama. Not very good at all, I'm afraid. A stagnating economy. Anyway, so then we had the safest and most secure election of all time. Safest, freest, fairest, safest and most securest of all time, right? And Joe Biden was absolutely legitimately elected to be president. Sorry. I nearly did that with a straight face. Anyway, as I said, I digress. And everything was awful, right? We're in the midst of the precipice of the greatest recession of our lifetimes. We're experiencing it right now, where it is about to get a lot worse. I think it's going to make the 1930s crash look like a bit of a picture. Anyway, I digress. But people don't like to be wrong, right? But that's all they really could think about. They were proved wrong, and they didn't get their way, and they couldn't think about anything else, right? For years, Donald Trump, that's all they could think about, right? And this mostly affected people making TV, which is why TV today is not very good, right? Not very good at all. Now it's just a bit confused, but during the Trump years, it was abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. Now, Doctor Who's always been a very cutting-edge show and a very representative of the world that it's been created in. TV generally today, not very good at all. So, I think, was it one of the best producers of Doctor Who, Philip Hinchcliffe, says, it's a show that finds you out. Many things converge. So we had the Donald Trump insanity, and that's all they could think about, right? Brexit, Donald Trump, and that's what their brains were like for years. Literally like that, right? We had that going on, and we also had a very entitled generation coming up, a generation that doesn't like working much. Now, if you don't like working much at something, you end up not being very good at it. But, you can do these little creative tricks to try and cover it up. Now, I mentioned Philip Hinchcliffe now. Why did I mention Philip Hinchcliffe? He says Doctor Who is unique because it's the show that finds you out. It's the show that finds out if you're a talentless piece of crap hiding behind a few tricks, or if you can actually write, right? It really is. And it's a show that found us out. I did a review last night on, what's the Jodie Whittaker episode, Can You Hear Me? It's atrocious, right? There is zero story structure to it whatsoever. It's absolutely atrociously written. But yeah, the most amazing bit of atrocious writing for the current Doctor Who is the character of the Doctor themselves, right? Now, I've always loved the Doctor being an anti-conformist, iconoclastic authority, right? I think and that's really what I think works with Doctor Who, and why it appeals to me. It's a bunch of dichotomies, and I like a dichotomy. I like things pulling against each other. I think that's interesting, right? So again, he's a pacifist, and he's always working with the military. So. The trouble with that is it's pretty hard to write a character like that, and they couldn't really work out how to do it. So the current Doctor Who is awful, right? Is awful and almost always makes things worse. And very rarely has any agency to fix anything. It's an absolutely abysmal run on Doctor Who. I mean, it's just shockingly bad representation of the character. And then to cap it off, it's very, very badly performed by Jodie Whittaker. So... as I started off by saying, Doctor Who, you've seen it recently, it's not very good. So that's essentially why. But again, the most incredible thing about this Doctor Who is how insanely destructively awful they are, right? Like how they screw up time and time and time again. You know, there was this during lockdown, we had the great thing called the watch-alongs, where we would Emily Cook from Doctor Who magazine, who works at Big Finish now, had the idea, and she said at the same time we're going to watch the same episode again. We'll all tweet about it. She got people involved who made it. They did special skits. So it was wonderful, right? It was one of the most unifying things I've ever seen. It was absolutely wonderful. And then a little gay Paul called out, right? Who on top of it also being very bad, this Doctor, it was also very divisive, because if you point out how bad it was, they said, "Oh no! Oh, you must like Donald Trump," which I did, as it happens. But you must like Donald Trump, because their heads were on fire for years. This is all they could think about, right? And now they do anything not to think about the mess they made of everything. It's incredible. But anyway, so it was a very divisive time in fantasy. So he wrote this little short story, a sequel to The Excellent Human Nature and Family of Blood, in which Jodie Whittaker, for no apparent reason, lets out a daughter of mine, the little girl with the red balloon, she wants to be kind or compassionate. So I wrote a follow-up story to that, where this little girl goes on a murdering spree, killing thousands of people, because they're evil, and the people writing this are just morons, right? Paul Cornell can actually write Doctor Who, weirdly enough, but I guess his mind just got fried by the age of the age we live in. But the point is this. This Doctor never makes anything better, right? Oh, then I had a conceit that all the other Doctors basically divvy it up between themselves to go and fix all the messes that Jodie Whittaker's Doctor makes, because she's an absolute disaster, right? This Doctor is an absolute disaster. She's a conformist. She's hateful. She's cruel. She's cowardly, and she does it like with a little wink and smile, like a goofy wink and smile that she seems to think it makes it okay. So this is a bit uncomfortable for the media, because they said, "Oh my God, Jodie Whittaker, the greatest thing ever! Oh, I had cancer and I watched Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who. It cured me. I'm not actually that far into parody at this point. That's exactly what it's wonderful. You don't like it? You're a racist. Oh my God, you hate women. Donald Trump. Brexit. So, they end up looking a bit foolish, because it was objectively terrible, right? And did terribly in the ratings. One thing these people hate more than anything else is being a loser, which they are. So that to go down. So now we get articles like this where they try and say, "Oh no, Doctor Who was always a disastrous character, bungling through, making things terrible," which we're going to look at this article now, which it tries to intimate. It has a 10 times, here, I'll pull it up right here, 10 times the Doctor made things, 10 times the Doctor being there made it worse. Maybe, but if this list isn't entirely composed of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. Do you remember Arachnis in the UK, where she's like, oh, the evil Donald Trump alike? I read Donald Trump's the only thing they could think about. Donald Trump, my head's on fire. Evil Donald Trump alike. Rather than humanely killing giant spiders, she just left them to asphyxiate horribly, because all they could think about was Donald Trump. Donald Trump and Brexit. That's all they could think about. And they couldn't write anything. And I don't think they could write anything before, which is probably why they had such a focus on diversity. Oh, we got to have some diversity. Okay, great, marvelous. How'd that work out for you? Not that good, really. Not that good at all. I'm recording this on Wednesday, September 28th. It's a fast day today, so I got to record something quickly before I run out of steam, which will be pretty soon. But it's a fast day. It was right after the Jewish New Year. Now, the Jewish New Year is a 2-day affair, and you're offline, but you have these big festive meals during it. We had friends over. We had friends we have who are big they're in the Biden Democrat worldview, right? And they ran around with their head on fire for years going, Donald Trump, it's all they thought about, right? And look, God bless them. They're good people, smart people, intelligent people, educated people. Just if you talk to them and you really drill down on them, you'll see their worldview is like this house of cards based on like lies on lies on lies on lies on lies on lies on lies, and you've got to pick apart. It's not worth it, right? It's not, and they're entirely resistant to it, right? Honestly, the first day of the Jewish New Year, I was having a nap. You get up early. It's very labor intensive, right? So I was having a nap, and I got woken up from my nap, from having this friend of ours was visiting. It was the day before they had lunch with us. Like at the top of their voice, talking about how black people can't work out how to get ID, so it's asking for ID is racist, right? So I'm like, I go out there and I'm going to say, that's ridiculous. Stop, right? Just stop. And I couldn't even get the words out. They're like, no, I don't want to hear what you're going to say. It'll make me angry. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm not actually exaggerating. This actually happened, right? I'm like, if you don't want me to call you out on your insane conspiracy theory nonsense, then don't wake me up with it. Anyway, I digress. I'm recording this on the 28th because we got the Jewish New Year is the beginning of a bunch of Jewish holidays. I don't know when I'm going to air this video. It might be like a week from now, but I've got to get a lot of content made. Yeah, which is essentially. So anyway, as I said, we have this article over here where. They want to say the Doctor has always been a useless disaster, just like Jodie Whittaker. No. So I thought we'll read it together and take the piss. That's basically the plan. Before we get into it, like, share, subscribe, comment, all those things are very good. Bloody, I'm 11 minutes in. Haven't even got to the article yet. But you know, it's nice to chat. Let's start over here. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Please do subscribe. That really does help me. Sign up my Substack. It's my email newsletter. Sign up my paid Substack. That's also an email newsletter. I really got to put content out on that. That's just the kind of guy I am, baby. That's just the kind of guy I am. Anyway, let's read this article. 10 times the Doctor being there made it worse. Never be cruel, unlike Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. Never be cowardly, unlike Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. But try to actually help. She doesn't help anything. She's just useless. I mean, really. And when she does help, it doesn't make any sense. I did a review last night of Can You Hear Me? And the plot points where she pulled things together, I had to go over it several times because it made absolutely no sense, the leap they made. Because, as Philip Hinchcliffe said, it's a show that finds you out. And if the only thing on your mind is representation and showing how women are people too, which everybody kind of believes, don't they? If you don't think that, you're a bit of a weirdo, right? You can't really write scripts. That's basically what's going on. So fine, but let's hear them try and normalise this nonsense. According to the Doctor's wife, the Doctor would always take the TARDIS always take the Doctor not necessarily where he wanted to go. I love that you're saying he, but where he needed to be. With that in mind, it was Neil Gaiman writing a nice line. Get over it, mate. It might be fair to assume that she was in some sadistic moods at the time, because there have been occasions where she has taken the Doctor and company somewhere where it might have been best that they hadn't landed in the first place. No matter the incarnation. No, there's only one incarnation that constantly failed, right? Jodie Whittaker. Doctor has always spent most of his or her lifetime travelling the universe in an attempt to right wrongs they encounter. No, this Doctor, the Jodie Whittaker Doctor, travels the universe in an attempt to virtual signal, which is basically make herself feel good about herself. But there have been some, again, this episode, was it Can You Hear Me? I reviewed yesterday. There's this bit in it where she turns up in Aleppo in the 13th century, and she meets, there's this utter devastation, and meets one survivor and says, you thought, I'll help you, I will, I'll totally help you. Really? You have no idea what's going on, right? How do you know there's not a fleet of Daleks there? I mean, I don't know, but nothing like optimism. I mean, honestly, if they made Baldric from Blackadder Doctor Who, he would still be more together than Jodie Whittaker. Indeed, in some rare cases, was it right wrongs encounter, but there are some scenarios where even they can't save the day, like from giant spiders asphyxiating to death horribly and slowly. Sometimes it's, I mean, like, why would you write that? That's not fun. That's not funny. It's just bad writing. Sometimes taking the mantra of never be cruel, never be cowardly can backfire on the Time Lord. Other times their curiosity can end up being the cause of unnecessary death or destruction. That happens. That happens. On occasion, the Doctor's own and in uncertain circumstances, they were just a plain idiot. Again, the only time the Doctor can be described as an idiot is the Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who, right? She is absolutely an idiot. So, okay. Example number one, the Daleks. I guess we're talking about the dead planet, right? The first Daleks, or William Hartnell one. Hey, when the audience first meet the Doctor alongside Ian and Barbara in 1963, it was fair to say he wasn't exactly the most amicable people. Well, again, they were kind of feeling it out and they're developing what this show was. I honestly. When would the traditional Doctor? Oh, there you go. Nice picture. Oh, let's say one of the rehearsal pictures. When did a recognizable Doctor come on screen? I would say around the War Games, maybe a little bit before, maybe in the Dodo years, right? But like, there's a great scene in the War Games where William Hartnell's Doctor's standing, in front, and they have all the army behind him, and war teams show up, and they all like run away, and he's standing there defiantly. That's Doctor Who, right? That's Doctor Who. But in the early days, yes, they weren't sure who was the hero, Ian or the Doctor. Fine. But in the first season of the show, he would normally be the one leading his companions into trouble, but out of that initial collection adventure, he was probably most headstrong in his first encounter with the Daleks. Especially if you're watching the Peter Cushing movie, which is weird, okay? That's a weird movie, okay? Try watch that script. I mean, it looks beautiful in 4K. Oh my god! But like, it's like he's made this TARDIS with his granddaughter, and he's just about to go on the maiden flight. It's just, it makes the John and Gillian strip seem like the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, right? Admittedly, if you just got admittedly, if you just gone away from Earth for the first time in a while after living in exile in a junkyard in the 1960s, and then spent some time being menaced by the tribe of Gum, the Stone Age tribe, you would want to see and explore the futuristic city. Conveniently, the TARDIS is running low on mercury, one of the various substances that apparently fuel the ship. There, the fluid links. Oh, look, Susan, the fluid links. So maybe it would have been a good idea to go to said city and see if they have any mercury. The problem there, the city just happens to be the refuge for to belong to the Daleks. I mean, so is it really credible that he didn't know he was on Skaro and they were Daleks? I mean, did his mind get attacked or something from the TARDIS when he borrowed it? I mean, there's been a lot of theories about what's actually going on there. But it's fair to say he wasn't really himself at the time. Well, that city happens to belong to the Daleks, so who at this point is unaware of any intelligent life outside of Skaro? And now they know they're going to try and conquer the race to ensure their own survival. Oh, the mercury shortage, that turned out to be a load of bull the Doctor just wanted to explore. Nice one, mate. You've doomed the universe. His need for the fluid links did make them launch into the universe. Okay, I think you might have a fair point there. But again, I don't think you're really seeing the archetypal Doctor there, like how he didn't recognize Skaro. There's something weird going on with the whole thing, right? There's something a bit strange. So not really sure. Not really sure what indeed they were thinking. The Ark. Well, what did he do wrong with the Ark? Vicky, what's the name? Had a cold. Dodo had a cold. You see, again, I kind of like that. Like, how would you describe it? Not non-conformist, like non-established nature of Doctor Who. Like, the slightly like bumbling bumbling scientist feel to it, right? There's something very British about that, I think. I don't know what it is, but it is. Anyway, the Ark. If you never heard of Dodo Chaplet, here's a summary of her. She was a companion of the Doctor's for a little while after she mistook the TARDIS for a real police box. Well, also, wasn't she played by the same actress who was in Reign of Terror? And it was supposed to indicate how she survived and how time heals all, or something along those lines. And her accent suddenly changed between episodes. That's it. There's no more really to say about her. Well, she did die of syphilis, apparently, according to the Virgin New Adventures after getting from Market and Sard. Except the fact her first event, she actually calls the plague. Apparently, in the far future, human race and the one-eyed Monides are accompanying them into the titular Ark, have no immunity against the common cold, which Dodo is carrying, and the vaccine that the Dr. Hurley produces is not enough to present a second wave. That sounds eerily familiar, doesn't it? Don't believe anything, okay? Don't believe anything about public health. I mean, it might be true, it might not. I just don't believe anything, is my advice. Apparently in the far future, the human... Okay, blah, blah, blah. When the travellers jump forward at the end of the Ark's 700-year voyage, they find the Monites have mutinied against the humans and taken over. When the Ark arrives at its destination, it isn't long before civil war breaks out between the humans and the Monites, and the peace agreement is only arranged after a series of casualties, on both sides. I think it's all going to be avoided. The Doctor remembered that he could have just wiped Dodo's nose, a la Donna Noble, of there being a police book that was bigger on the inside. But no, the Doctor just really liked to kidnap people. He didn't kidnap them. That was ridiculous. Again, this is just delightful storytelling that you're talking about, which is probably why it's confusing you. If you're big in for the Jodie Whittaker years, you probably don't find delightful storytelling that great. Okay, Planet of Spiders. No, again, no arachnids in the UK, but we're going to rank on Planet of Spiders. Let's see what bullcrap they've got to say. In a rare bit of continuity from early parts of the show, the Doctor's actions in a previous story comes back to haunt him. As the events on the Green Death got underway, the Doctor paid a visit to the planet Metabilis, or how did Matt Smith say it? Metabilis? I can't remember, so it was really weird. Metabilis 3. Something he'd been aching to do since he was exiled lifted by the time. But why? It looked awful. Right? It looked absolutely awful. There was like monsters coming to get you all the time. It was running around. However, he ended up falling foul of the local wildlife and running off almost as soon as he got there with a blue crystal as a souvenir. After the departure from Metabilis 3, it ends up on the planet of spiders, ruled by the Eight Legs, who harness their mental ability with the planet's crystals. It just so happens the Doctor took one crystal that would complete a web that would give them immense strength and ability to invade Earth. Well, that is true, but it's part of the charm of Doctor. He's not less. He didn't wander around screwing up. He's more of like, your eccentric English explorer, kind of bumbling in places and creating problems. Yeah, that is true, creating problems, but then solving them. I wouldn't say this is a constant tenet of the character. I think this is something interesting that happens from time to time. Again, this is the cornerstone of the Jodie Whittaker Doctor. Her screwing up. Can you hear me? Again, it's all about the alien, the bad guy, tricking the Doctor into freeing his girlfriend, who looks like she comes from Terrorhawks, from a prison. And that was done not through scientific curiosity, and exploring. That happened through just being fooled, right? Being deliberately fooled, which is what the Jodie Whittaker Doctor is. End result, a dead clairvoyant, Sarah Jane being webbed up and hypnotized, and the Doctor death from radiation poisoning. In fact, if it hadn't been for his mentor from Gallifrey showing up to start the process of regeneration, then that actually could have been it for the Doctor. Considering what happens next story, that would have led to Earth being blown up by nukes without the Doctor to stop it. You know what? I'm going to say they got a fair point in this one. But again, I think the fundamental difference is John Pertwee's Doctor was a hero, right? While Jodie Whittaker's Doctor wasn't. I think that comes from a fundamental lack of understanding of heroism, and that, I think, comes from a lack of understanding of masculinity and femininity. Genesis of the Daleks. He made it worse for being there? Please tell me more. Again, Genesis Daleks. The Daleks were created anyway. Let's hear what they have to say. Morality can be a bit of a thorn in the Doctor's side sometimes. Not really, no. Right? And that's what made him wonderful. Right? Imagine if it had been the Seventh Doctor been assigned to the Time Lord to prevent the Daleks' creation. Imagine if it was Jodie. Oh, I give up! I don't know what I'm doing! And also, the Seventh Doctor was very moral. Jodie Whittaker's Doctor isn't moral. She just, floats along with whatever Twitter says is right and wrong, which changes from day to day. He would have done it without a second thought. I don't know. But this was a younger, less manipulative version of the Doctor. And regardless of the fact that this was one of the most evil races ever created, to the point where the Time Lords were willing to greatly alter the time stream by making sure they didn't exist, he couldn't bring themselves to kill the Daleks. This is one of the greatest moments, not in Doctor Who of all time, in television history of all time. Like the "Do I have the right?" speech. It gives me chills. It's so clever, right? And if Laura's to believe, that burst of consciousness led almost directly to there being a beginning of the Time War. Could be. I mean, look, the new Colin Baker Unbound set by Big Finish is just out, which is essentially what would have happened if Tom Baker's Doctor did blow up the Daleks, and he would have regenerated into World War Doctor, played by Colin Baker. Essentially, good stories. Looking forward to listening to that set. So again, imagine if there had been a Skaro, who would be sure if he had the right and killed the Daleks off. Skaro would never have been destroyed. The remains of the Khaleds and the Thals would have led to a peaceful existence. How? What? No, Davros was intent on... No. Anyway, so again, imagine if it had been Seven who would be sure that he had the right and killed off the... Again, your lack of understanding of the Seventh Doctor or the Doctor in general is breathtaking. Skaro would have been destroyed. The remains of the Khaleds and the Thals would have led a peaceful existence. So many innocent lives and races would have been untouched, and the Master could actually have been the Doctor's archenemy as opposed to Davros. God, that's just one of the stupidest points ever. But no, 4 Jess ensured a lot of death and misery, mostly his own. What a moron. Okay, this is one of the most stupid takes I've ever heard, right? Again, this is their desperation to say, oh no, Jodie Whittaker is as awful as any other Doctor. They're all as awful as Jodie Whittaker. No, Mindwarp. Well, again, what are you going to say about Mindwarp? How do we know what's real and what was a Matrix projection? It seems a bit dumb to me, really. This might be a bit of an overstretch considering the part of the trial that, considering this is part of the trial of the Time Lord arc. Over the course of the season, it had been established that the evidence being viewed by the jury had been tampered with to make the Doctor look overly callous and worthy of being executed. Listen, we do have Nicola Bryant strapped down to a beach with buckets of water being heaved over and over again. I have to tell you, Nicola Bryant jiggling around makes any story better, right? You put a bit of Nicola jiggle into any story and you'll go, oh, that's a better story. That is true. It's scientifically proven. It absolutely is. What happened with... over being callous and worthy of execution. Admittedly, not a hard task considering the boisterous Sixth Doctor. What? We can't. What, boisterous? We can't know for certain how much it was actually a Doctor participating in crude experiments and how much was fabricated. Yeah, his mind might have been scrambled by the mind warp. Again, it feels like no. It feels like like the bit where he like kneels down to Perry when she's strapped to the beach, having buckets of water thrown over her. Love that scene, baby. Love that scene. Nicola, it might have sucked for you. For me, it was fantastic. Right? It was also very wet for me too. Funnily enough. Anyway. I digress. The bit where he kneels down and said, "Oh, you know, I'm okay, Perry," and then he goes all evil and, "Oh, you must have confessed to the mess laws." That was clearly the the Matrix being tampered with. However, given that we see him instigate a full scale rebellion and tamper with time to the point where the Time Lords had to interfere and get the Doctor out of there for his own trial. And set events up so everyone, including Perry, is killed off. It's safe to assume. It's safe to assume that the Doctor did a substantial amount of damage. Again, this is a stretch, right? After all, he was on trial for meddling. But no, this was all. Jesus bloody Christ! It's like people who believe CNN or MSNBC. They're lying to you. Right, this is the CIA lying to you, morons. Oh, for goodness sake. Yes, it was all a setup to steal his lies by the Valiard, right? Who, let's face it, was part of the deep state. I mean, it all kind of ties together. Now I'm getting very conspiracy theory. After all, he was on trial for meddling with established events to the point where the Time Lords had to get involved in order to put things right. Well, again, I think that's probably a setup. It strikes me a bit January 6th to me, don't you? At the end of the day, regardless of the truth, the Doctor being there sparked a chain of events that led to the Time Lords having killed Perry. Definitively, absolutely, definitely, maybe. Okay, she got married off to Brian Blessed. Also a bit weird, right? Also a bit weird. You know, that's a strange thing. Dalek. I mean, again, how is this not all Jodie? Billy Piper looks pretty good there, I have to tell you. There's a lot of similarities between the first Dalek story of the classic series and the new. They both have a Dalek in it, I guess. What else is? I don't know. Okay, that's interesting. The classic series and the first of the new series. The Doctor's curiosity and or need to help leads him to follow a distress signal to the location of Skara's finest. And being there, he causes it to go on a massive killing spree as revenge for being imprisoned. Well, that's actually taking Rosaire, who was temporarily active, right? Who like regenerated the Dalek. Before he turned up, the Doctor had no intention of breaking. The Dalek had no intention of breaking free and was doomed to be tortured into talking. After which it would become another piece in the museum of Henry Van Statten collecting dust. Once it saw its arch rival, every bit of hate and determination to exterminate became bubbling right back to the surface, and now it had the perfect excuse to break free. I mean, again, the whole like torturing the Dalek bit for years on end, not very doctory, right? It was sheer luck that it didn't anticipate that by feeding off Rose's DNA, it will become more human, start questioning itself to the point of suicide. I don't think it was luck. I think it's reasonably obvious if you know anything about Daleks. At the end of the story, we have Van Statten's new assistant declare her the boss, and that events led to 200 dead personnel, and all because him. Not say because the Doctor following that signal. Well, again, he saw a distress signal and followed it. It's not like he bungled, right? You know, Jodie bungles, right? Jodie just bungles, crazily enough. The long game. Again, really? Man, maybe they just haven't seen the current Doctor Who. That could be. That makes sense. Okay. Right after the Dalek incident, the Doctor went and did it all over again. I mean, I don't really remember the long game, but that was the first, like, not great one, as I recall. Although out of all the entries on this list is probably the most unintentional and slowest way he screwed things up. Here we have the fourth great bountiful human empire at the peak period of human history, a time of prosperity. Of course, there's always something dirty behind squeaking in the hot corridors, and there's media manipulating our people on Earth with fake news. I mean, honestly, it's funny how people stopped saying fake news as soon as Donald Trump vanished, wasn't it? It was really incredible. Not to worry, though. The Doctor and Rose are on hand to save the day, halting the broadcast and ending the reign of the editor and Jagrafas. Oh, I can't remember the whole big name. All well and good. Humanity can get their independence back and everyone's a winner, right? Well, that's what it seems at the time. Wrong. Turns out the end of Series 1, humanity didn't know that what to do with itself. The economy crashed. Governments became more useless than normal. Famine and natural disasters aplenty. What do we get instead? Unwilling participants in game shows and more lethal spin. Well, again, that's not really the Doctor. That's more humanity doing that, right? He's fixed things, and then we were corrupt and evil and did those things. Okay, all for the purpose of entertainment and ratings. The worst part about it meant Big Brother stayed on the air for a long time. It's not bad seeing contestants get killed off from that, but come on, Doctor. Did you have to do much to more of that? I don't even know what the point they're making, right? I mean, like, again, their effort to avoid every Jodie episode, which she causes mayhem and destruction, it is a little bit noticeable, right? It's a little bit noticeable. Human Nature, Family of Blood, really? One of the greatest episodes. I mean, again, I don't like Paul Cornell, but really? This is insane. Let's be fair. The Doctor. Let's be fair to the Doctor in this one. He was being chased by and was in a real panic and didn't have much choice in the matter. Again, none of these can be applied to the Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. I mean, just pick a story at random. She makes everything worse by being there. I mean, did you remember the Timeless Children? Remember that little epic where the story before and the Villa of Dildo, whatever, where a few episodes before, and we had John Barrowman going, "Don't give the Lone Cyberman the Siberium," and in that episode she says, "Oh, if you thought I better give the Lone Cyberman the Siberium, but I'm gonna sort it out though. Don't worry." And the next episode it turned out that most of humanity was killed. That seems like a time she made it worse by being there, right? The Family of Blood would have stopped at nothing to catch him and would have wreaked havoc and killed innocent people no matter where he ended up. It's just a shame it had to be in a quiet English village on the evil world of the First World War. And of course, the shenanigans involving the Doctor unknowingly masquerading as John Smith and Martha being unable to find out the Ford Watch to restore his true identity means even more lives were lost unnecessarily. Well, again, he set things up to fix them, in case of emergencies. Just Martha didn't do a job that well, I think. The only fault you can really pin on the Doctor is it just happened to be the supposed last of the Time Lords and the idea and the ideal source of that the family were after. People were going to die no matter what happened. This was out of the Doctor's hands, and at least he could have done was in his instruction window for Martha would tell her what to do if he fell in love instead of ranting about pairs. Granted, they are disgusting, but still, pairs aren't disgusting. Again, this is just one weird, dumb article, isn't it? I mean, and just going on forever. Utopia. And how did he make things worse by being there? Another case of Doctor accidentally setting off an old foe, dematerializing in a hurry upon seeing Captain Jack. The TARDIS ends up at the end of the universe, the 100 trillion after Jack hitches a ride through the vortex, and we are that we find the kindly elderly Professor Yana, who he seems to be all right, doesn't he? So he can hear the sound of drums. Then what's the big deal? Oh, he's got a fob watch just like the Doctor's, and Martha's drawn his attention to it. He can hear voice inside. Oh, it's the Master. Well, again, this is Martha, not the Doctor, but okay. So Martha hadn't been drawn the attention to it. I mean, I hadn't started talking about how Jazz has fucked up everything, but and then all we ever hear about it, oh, Yaz, you're so stunning. You're so brave. Oh, you're such a wonderful human being. We love you, Yaz. Oh, Yaz, you're the bestest ever. Oh, the bestest ever. So Martha hadn't been drawn to it. The master wouldn't have come back. Or he only wouldn't have got very far, being at the end of the universe and all. Instead, we got the TARDIS being shipnapped, and the Master's reign of terror as Harold Saxon cannibalized. The result was a year that never was. Well, okay, they erased it from reality. Okay, it turned out all right for most of the human race, save the odd journalist and the president of the USA. Again, I don't see a real downside with any of this. But if you're a member of the Jones family, that's going to stick with you forever. It's not something you can recover. Will you stop? None of this compares to destroying the entire human race by Cybermen because you're an idiot. World Enough Time, the Doctor Falls. Oh, this was a great story. Again, how did you not? I mean, maybe you don't want to watch Jodie. I understand that. Missy was great, wasn't she? During season 10, like the Doctor, part of us generally wanted to believe she wasn't on path to redemption after all these years, but things would have come to it eventually. So she was indeed on the right track. Well, she kind of did, I thought. Right? So the Doctor takes her to a space station beside a black hole, and Missy is playing with playing the Doctor, and Bill and Nardole playing her companions. Meanwhile, the Doctor himself speculates that from the comfort of the TARDIS. How does that work out? A crew member finds them, and Bill ends up having a chest caved in by a laser blast. Not a good start. By the end of the adventure, we find the Saxon incarnation of Master has been sparking the Genesis assignment and tempts Missy back to the side of evil before the two end up killing each other. Well, we don't really know that she killed Missy. I mean, Missy knew that she was going to get shot with a laser. She could have had some kind of shielding on, right? Killing each other, where Bill getting fully converted. The Doctor is mortally wounded twice, and Nardole trapped in a war against the armies of the Cybermen, who will eventually kill him and the innocent villagers under his care. Kind of like what was going to happen to the Doctor and Trenzalore. Okay, so the Doctor was desperate to get his friends back, even though get his friend back, but even he should have known better than to let her off the leash like that, and maybe have checked for better scenarios to insert her into again. I mean, like, all this is like a group of people you're blaming, right? No. Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. I mean, can we look at a Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who episode guide? See if we can, if I remember on the top of my head. Whittaker Doctor Who episode guide. Yeah, I always wondered what it felt like. The end of the universe! Eki Thorpe. Woman who fell to earth. Well, I mean, she does end up getting all the family nearly asphyxiating, right? Ghost Monument. Rosa, what was she doing there? I mean, like, she makes everything worse, right? Arachnis in the UK, Sononga Conundrum, tries to kidnap a ship, it blows up her companions while looking on a junk planet. Demons of the Punjab, love is love. Oh, which she had no effect at all. Kablam, no effect at all. Witchfinders, awful. Takes You Away, awful. Battle of Runkles, yeah. She's always a cause of disaster, right? And that's just a smattering. I mean, there was also Doctor Who Flux, where she destroyed 3/4 of the universe and never repaired it, right? There was also that little thing as well. I mean, how do you compare? Yeah, the answer is you don't. The only way you can do it is out of sheer blithering ignorance, right? Sheer breathtaking, blithering ignorance, which thankfully, today's journalistic cadre, there is a near unlimited supply. So there you go. 10 times that things are made worse by the Doctor, they're still nowhere near as bad as Jodie Whittaker, who is, let's face it, Freaking awful. My name is Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.